For 5 centuries, this hallway has a reputation. Visitors don't talk about architecture. They talk about what they saw, or what they thought they saw. A female figure, Tudor dress, early 16th century style, dark fabric, square neckline, veil, no identifiable face, no movement from the shoulders up. Some reports say she is holding something. The location is Hampton Court Palace, one of the most historically significant royal residences in England. It was home to Henry VIII. It was the stage of political power, religious upheaval, and one of the most controversial deaths in English history. Palace staff refused to patrol this corridor alone at night. Security logs confirm multiple incidents recorded as disturbance, unidentified figure. Not a ghost video, not a viral clip. Internal documentation. Witness reports describe the same woman, same dress, same silent presence. Only one detail changes. Some say she walks without a head. Others say she carries it in her hands. Let's start with the known facts. She is believed to be Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII of England. Anne Boleyn was executed on May 19, 1536. Official cause, treason against the king. The charges included adultery, incest, and conspiring to kill the king. But the documents from her trial show irregularities. No physical evidence. Key testimonies obtained under pressure. Witnesses recanted privately. Modern historians agree the accusations were likely fabricated. So here is the problem. Anne died at the Tower of London, yet almost all ghost sightings place her here, inside Hampton Court Palace. Why this building? Why this hallway? During her final months, Henry VIII lived here with Anne. This is where political alliances shifted, where rumors spread, where her downfall began. This corridor, the haunted gallery, was the route Anne walked to plead with Henry when she realized he had turned against her. Visitors report what they describe as panic energy, rushing footsteps, and a shape moving fast down the hallway. These are anecdotal claims. They are not proof, but the pattern is consistent. Witnesses describe a woman in black, moving as if searching for someone. No face, no head. From a psychological perspective, this is location-associated memory. People don't see random ghosts. They see ghosts tied to a story. Humans assign emotion to spaces. Hampton Court isn't just a palace. It is a crime scene of power, politics, and betrayal. Henry VIII needed a son. Anne did not produce one. Henry found someone who could, Jane Seymour. Removing Anne wasn't personal. It was strategic. Someone who was once the center of royal power became expendable. If Anne Boleyn is seen here, it is not because she died here. It is because this is where she lost everything. Her influence, her status, her marriage, her future. To understand the ghost, we must understand the betrayal. Before she became a ghost story, Anne Boleyn was a disruption. She didn't start as royalty. She wasn't born into power. She entered it. Anne spent part of her youth in the French court, a place known for politics, diplomacy, and persuasion. She learned something most English noblewomen didn't. Power isn't inherited. Power is negotiated. When she returned to England, she immediately stood out. Anne was not the most beautiful woman at court, but she was the most educated and the most strategic. She understood influence. Henry VIII noticed her. And when a king notices someone, the court notices too. Henry wanted her as his mistress, the same title he had given to Mary Boleyn, Anne's sister. Anne refused. No one refused the king, but Anne did. She told Henry she would not give him her body without a crown. Her rejection made her powerful. She became a challenge. Henry wrote Anne at least 17 love letters. The letters still exist, archived in the Vatican. In one, Henry writes, Henry VIII, VO, I love you, and only you. Anne had changed the dynamic. Henry was no longer king in control. He was a man chasing something he could not have. There was one problem. Henry already had a wife, Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish princess, a political marriage. For Henry to marry Anne, he needed an annulment from the Pope. He asked. Rome refused. Catherine was aunt to the Holy Roman Emperor, the most powerful man in Europe. Granting the annulment would have been political suicide for the church. Henry was stuck. Anne was unreachable. Instead of giving up, Henry changed the country. Henry VIII separated England from the Catholic Church. He rejected the Pope's authority. He created a new system, the Church of England, with himself as its leader. This was not theological reform. It was personal. He didn't break from Rome for religious freedom. He broke from Rome to get Anne. Historians agree, Anne Boleyn was the catalyst for the English Reformation. Few individuals in history can say they changed the religion of a nation. Anne did. In January 1533, Henry and Anne were secretly married. She was crowned Queen of England. Crowds lined the streets of London to see her coronation parade. But there were jeers mixed with cheers. Anne was not universally loved. Many viewed her as the reason England had defied the Pope. She was blamed for Catherine's humiliation. She was blamed for religious chaos. And behind every public ceremony, there was political risk. The marriage now had one requirement: produce a male heir, a son. Anne became pregnant immediately. It was her chance to secure everything. But the child was a girl. The newborn princess was named Elizabeth, the future Elizabeth I. But at that moment, Henry saw only disappointment. Anne became pregnant again. That pregnancy ended in miscarriage. Another pregnancy followed. Another miscarriage. Henry wanted one thing above all else: a male heir. Anne could not deliver what Henry believed only the king deserved. Rumors began circulating at court. Anne can't bear a son. Anne is cursed. Anne is dangerous. Political enemies multiplied. Former allies switched sides. The court didn't want a queen who had changed the church. They wanted stability. They wanted Catherine back. They wanted Henry satisfied. And then Henry's attention shifted to Jane Seymour. Quiet, obedient, the opposite of Anne. When Henry found Jane Seymour, Anne's position became weak. Power did not protect her. Change did not protect her. And in a court that revolved around the king's desires, a queen without usefulness became a liability. Anne had been powerful because Henry wanted her. But power based on desire is not power at all. It can disappear overnight. Matral 1536. Anne Boleyn, Queen of England for just 3 years, is arrested and taken to the Tower of London. Her charges are written in the arrest warrant: adultery, treason, incest. These are not minor accusations. Under Tudor law, each one is punishable by death. The accusation was not subtle. It claimed Anne slept with multiple men, including her own brother, George Boleyn. History records 5 men executed with her. All were accused of being her lovers. The timing is suspicious. These arrests happened in less than 72 hours, executed like a planned purge. There was no investigation, no physical evidence, no forensic process, because the verdict was already decided. Anne was dangerous for one reason. She failed to give Henry a son, and Henry wanted a new wife. Inside the tower, Anne faced an all-male council. Everyone in that courtroom owed their position and their lives unto the king. Nobody would challenge Henry's decision. Her trial took 1 day. No defense witnesses were allowed. The outcome was predetermined. If Anne Boleyn was guilty, then every woman in England was guilty. The so-called confessions from the accused men were extracted under pressure. Some were threatened, some were tortured. One man, Mark Smeaton, was the only one who confessed. He was also the only one not from the nobility. He was expendable. Today, historians agree the confessions were coerced. This wasn't justice, it was logistics. Remove the queen, remove the problem. Anne waited in the queen's lodgings, the same room she had stayed in the night before her coronation. 3 years earlier, she entered the tower as a future queen. Now she waited for execution. Even here, her behavior is documented with precision. Multiple witnesses say Anne showed no crying, no emotional collapse, no begging. She laughed once. Some said it was hysteria. Others said it was defiance. The night before her execution, Anne prayed. There are no records of fear, only acceptance. Henry ordered a French executioner, a swordsman believed to be the most skilled in Europe. Not because he wanted mercy, but because he wanted speed. Beheading by sword was rare in England. It was expensive, only used for high-ranking nobility. An axe could take multiple strikes. Henry wanted a clean result. Anne was led onto the scaffold at Tower Green. Witnesses say she walked calmly. Even now, she refused to accuse Henry. She refused to blame anyone. Her final recorded words, "I submit to the king." God save the king facts matter here. No bitterness, no accusation, no mention of injustice. She protected the man who condemned her. The swordsman distracted her, a technique used to ensure no flinch response. She never saw the blade. There was no second strike, no suffering, one motion. Witnesses reported something unusual. Anne smiled moments before the end. Historians debate this detail. Some interpret it as relief, a release from fear, tension, in 3 years of political war. Others believe it was her final act of control. Anne Boleyn entered the tower as queen. She left as a body. Henry married Jane Seymour 11 days later. 11 days. No mourning, no respect, no time wasted. The execution ended Anne's life, but it ignited the most enduring ghost story in British history, because some say Anne Boleyn never left. Anne Boleyn died at the Tower of London, so logically any ghost sighting should be there. But it isn't. Her most persistent reports of haunting come from Hampton Court Palace, specifically from a passage known as the Haunted Gallery. This creates a historical contradiction. Why here? Because this building was the location of her emotional execution. Months before the physical one, this palace was where Anne realized her husband had replaced her. Not with politics, with another woman, Jane Seymour. I saw a figure carrying something. It was a head, former palace staff, 2003 incident report. That is an official internal report filed by a staff member responsible for nighttime security, not a tourist, not a paranormal hunter, a trained employee. Witness accounts show consistent details. A woman in Tudor era, black dress, walking rapidly or urgently. No visible head, only the speed and distance vary. Some describe her appearing suddenly. Others say she fades behind a column. The testimonies do not contradict each other. The sightings are frequent enough that staff avoid walking this corridor alone. Multiple guards filed incident reports. 2 tourists fainted during a walking tour after claiming they saw a headless woman. These reports are documented. Not rumors, not folklore. Documents exist. In 2003, Hampton Court released footage from a locked emergency exit. Sensor triggered. Camera activated. A woman in period clothing appears to pull the door open from the inside. Security rushed to the scene. No one was there. The door is heavy. It requires force to open. It cannot open by wind or temperature change. The palace checked all security and maintenance data. No faults were detected. The footage was handed to the press without an explanation. If the palace believed the event was fake, they could have claimed a malfunction. They didn't. There is a historical reason why the sightings always happen in the same hallway. In 1536, after Anne lost Henry's support, she tried to speak to him in this palace. Witnesses wrote, "The queen ran crying through the gallery. She chased the king. He turned away." This was the precise moment when her fate shifted from queen to problem to be removed. Not at the tower, not at the trial. Psychology explains why ghosts are seen where trauma occurs. People don't see spirits at the place where someone died. They see spirits at the place where someone broke. Anne's breaking point was not her execution. It was realization. Realization that Henry never loved her. Is the ghost real? That depends on definition. There is no proven footage showing a face, no audio capturing words or voice, no measurable temperature anomaly that can be replicated. But there is a pattern. The same figure, the same hallway, the same behavior, different witnesses, different decades. Consistent story. If Anne Boleyn is seen here, it isn't for vengeance, and it isn't to frighten anyone. It is because Hampton Court was where the betrayal happened. Not the execution, the betrayal. Her body died at the tower. Her future died here. Anne Boleyn changed England, not as a myth, not as a ghost, but as a political force. Because of her, England broke from Rome. Because of her, Henry VIII rewrote his country's laws. Because of her, the Church of England was born. The Reformation changed religion, power, and monarchy forever. Yet Anne Boleyn did not write her own story. Men did. The men who destroyed her. The official narrative about Anne came from her enemies at court, political rivals, and chroniclers paid by the crown. Historical documents describe her as manipulative, adulterous witch traitor. But every accusation came from those who gained power once she was gone. Anne Boleyn is the rare historical figure who became more powerful after death than in life. Because her story forces a question no court record can silence. Was Anne executed for what she did or for what she represented? Ghost stories do not survive 500 years by accident. They survive because the human mind seeks meaning. People don't see ghosts of strangers. They see ghosts of unresolved stories. Anne's haunting is not about the supernatural. It's about what was never answered. Anne Boleyn challenged a king. That was her real crime. She negotiated with a monarch, and for a brief moment, she won. Henry chased her. He broke the church for her. He changed history to reach her. But the moment Anne failed to produce a son, she became replaceable. Power based on desire is not power. Power that exists only because someone wants you disappears when someone else becomes more useful. Anne learned that too late. Anne Boleyn entered the tower as queen. She left as a body. 11 days later, Henry married Jane Seymour. No mourning, no dignity, no hesitation. History remembers the wedding faster than the execution. So why does the ghost story remain? Because Hampton Court is not the place where she died. It is the place where everything was taken from her. Her status, her influence, her marriage, her future. This palace was her emotional execution. She arrived here as Queen of England. She left here as a political inconvenience. Psychologists call this location-associated memory. Humans don't assign emotion to facts. we assign emotion to places. Hampton Court isn't just architecture, it is the geography of betrayal. Every step Anne walked in this hallway brought her closer to her death. That is why the sightings persist. In 2003, security footage recorded a woman in Tudor clothing opening a locked fire door. No one was inside. Sensors detected no physical presence. Maintenance logs showed no malfunction. The palace released the footage to the press without explanation. Not because it proved anything, but because it could not be disproven. Ghosts endure when history leaves unfinished business. Anne's story ends with a blade, but her presence continues because the truth was never given a verdict. Her trial was political. Her death was strategic. Her legacy was rewritten, yet her memory refuses to cooperate. If Anne's ghost still walks these halls, it isn't because she can't move on. It's because we can't stop telling this story.